constantly asking myself this question. Am I doing everything? Do I have all the ideas, concepts, notions, people? Do I have everything necessary to make Agentforce totally successful right now? I ask myself that question every single day. Is everything happening correctly? Am I doing everything? It has to be exhaustive. And there are moments like Dreamforce or earnings or product launches or, international travel is one, where you have to leave it all on the field. And that's an important part of success. After 25 years of being the CEO of Salesforce, from growing it from an idea, like you see with a lot of the venture capitalists and that you do, or entrepreneurship that you do, I was right there at ground zero, to growing it as the singular CEO all the way to today at 38 billion in revenue. Whoa, like you have to be ready to leave it on the field each and every moment, or you're not going to get to where you want to go. So yeah, you got to put it behind you and really go.
Jensen Huang said if he'd known how hard it was going to be, he wouldn't have done it. You look at 38 billion in revenue, Mark. I mean, 38 billion. Like, if I ask you the same, would you have done it?
It's funny. My neighbor here is David Kirk, who led the creation of the GPU for Jensen, probably the most important piece of technology that he has at NVIDIA. As the chief scientist, he led the group and the team. And at the end of the effort, he had built the best chip that they had ever seen. It became the heart of the game machines that became the heart of AI. And then he retired and said, I did it. And he said, but I'm not going to keep doing it. And instead, he became the chairman of his kid's school, and he invested in his community, and he's an incredible person. I have a huge amount of respect for David Kirk. And Jensen, who I also have a huge amount of respect for, then had that technology. It was going into these game machines, and incredible things were happening. And a few years later, he was at Stanford, and he saw this incredible innovation with deep learning. And he was the only large company CEO in tech who said, you know what, deep learning is such a big idea, and this technology is pretty darn close, the GPU, to what you need. I'm going to pivot my whole company, and I'm just going to go about deep learning. And he did that in 2013, right when it came. He saw the vision models. He saw all these incredible models. I saw all those models too. And while I added it into Salesforce, I didn't pivot Salesforce entirely around deep learning. And he was the only one in our industry to do that. He deserves a lot of credit for having the vision and the insight, but also hitting his own Steve Jobs button to pivot his company, because he did a hard pivot at that point. And he said, no, I'm just about AI. That's why a couple years later, when OpenAI started, he was ready to bring them those boards and say, hey, build OpenAI using this, not the CPU, the GPU. And that, again, was a bow to David Kirk, but also a bow to his focus on artificial intelligence. This idea that you have to be ready to pivot, to put it all behind you, to go, to leave it all in the field, but ultimately it only works if you have a beginner's mind. In all of those cases, those pivots are only working if you're ready to really go. And you might not know that you're at that moment if you're not in that flow. And I think sometimes CEOs are so in that cycle, they're going like this, that they don't have the opportunity to slow, stop, break, split, and just get back into the present moment right now. Breathe, realize what it is that you need to achieve right now to achieve your greatest, most amazing success. What are those values that will guide you? So this is something we all need to kind of take a thought about.
Final one before we do a quick fire. You tweeted that you loved the Marc Andreessen conversation with Joe Rogan.
I really did.
Yeah, and there was one element in there that I was really intrigued to hear your thoughts on, where he said tech companies didn't just cave to censorship, they were coerced, especially big tech. Did you agree with that statement?
Well, I was shocked by a lot of the revelations that have come that the government has been so involved in some of these social media companies and their operations. And he revealed a lot of that in that podcast. I think a lot of people should listen to it.